Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Let's jump right in. Because today, we are unpacking a really fascinating framework about what it genuinely means to embody a spiritual message. We're going to break down how a person actually transforms into a messenger of grace, joy, and power. And what's really cool is we'll be looking at exactly what it means to live out these pretty massive concepts right here in the fast-paced, multi-religious, and multicultural reality of Singapore.
So, right out of the gate, we have to ask ourselves, what does it actually mean to be a living letter? It's kind of a profound thought, right? Normally, when we think of a message, we picture something stuck in a book or delivered in a speech. But this idea totally challenges that. It asks us to imagine what happens when a message stops being just words on a page and literally becomes something you breathe, act out, and demonstrate every single day.
Okay, so that brings us to Section 1, Messengers of Grace, the call to live out the message. To ground us, we're looking at Romans 15:16, which talks about being a special messenger who brings good news so that others might be presented as an acceptable offering. Just let the gravity of that identity settle for a second. A special messenger. The text doesn't see you as just a passive bystander, you're an active envoy. And, in a super tight-knit, diverse nation like Singapore, being this outward-facing messenger means engaging with your neighbors and your community with a really profound sense of relational purpose.
Now, building on that outward focus, there's this brilliant metaphor from 2 Corinthians. It points out that being a messenger of grace has nothing to do with sharing truths written in pen and ink. Instead, you are described as a letter from Christ. The medium here is actually the human heart. The truths are shared fundamentally by the way you live your life. Essentially, your life itself becomes the text that everybody else is reading.
And taking that idea of a totally visible, readable life a step further, the text brings in Matthew 5, calling these messengers lights of the world. It explicitly says that our good deeds must shine out for all to see. But here is the absolutely crucial part. That shining, it's not for self-promotion. No way. Especially in a society where people of so many different faiths live side by side, these respectful, visible acts of goodness are specifically meant to direct praise straight to the Heavenly Father.
So you might be wondering, how do we practically measure this light? Well, John 13:35 boils the whole thing down to one undeniable metric: proof through love. The absolute definitive proof to the rest of the world that you're a true disciple isn't about having the best theology or being a great speaker. It's simply your genuine love for one another crossing those cultural and social lines. That right there is the ultimate verification of a living letter.
Moving right along, we hit Section 2, Messengers of Joy, Internal Transformation, and Thanksgiving.
This internal shift is captured so beautifully in Psalms 107. It says, "Let them offer sacrifices of thanksgiving and sing joyfully about his glorious acts." Just feel the energy in those words for a moment. Sacrifices of thanksgiving. Sing joyfully. We are looking at a huge shift here, moving away from a heavy sense of religious duty and stepping into a posture of just overwhelming, profound gratitude.
And that specific joy connects directly to being what the source material calls miracles of God's grace. Think about it. When your life is deeply, fundamentally transformed from the inside out, you aren't just the delivery person for the message anymore. You actually become the miracle. That kind of internal transformation is exactly what fuels the genuine, unshakable joy we're talking about.
Because of this deep internal change, these messengers of joy take on a totally new role. They become offerings of sacrifice. Now, usually when we hear the word sacrifice, we immediately think of loss or carrying a heavy burden, right? But this framework flips that script completely upside down. It says these transformed lives become offerings uniquely and specifically filled with thanksgiving and joy. The sacrifice is literally just a joyful response to the grace they've already received.
All right, that brings us to our third and final domain. Section 3, Messengers of Power, bringing heaven to earth.
To really wrap our heads around this power, we need to look at the super poetic imagery in Isaiah 40:31. Listen to this. "But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles." It's such a steady, powerful rhythm, and it actually gives us the mechanism for this power. It's found in trusting or waiting on the Lord, which results in the supernatural endurance that totally defies normal human weariness.
Getting a grip on this power really means contrasting it with our basic human instincts. On one hand, derived from 2 Timothy, you have the human default, a spirit of fear and timidity, completely rooted in our own weakness. But on the flip side, we have the divine provision, a spirit of power, love, and self-discipline. The amazing claim here is that God's absolute greatest power is actually showcased in our weakness. It actively steps in and replaces the paralysis of fear with highly focused love and self-discipline.
To make this concrete, the text points back to the story of Elisha and the chariots of fire from 2 Kings. It's this incredible metaphor for spiritual vision. As believers, we're encouraged to pray for the eyes to literally see the invisible, chariots of fire of God's love that surround us. Even when your physical circumstances look incredibly intimidating, or the sheer pressure of keeping up in a fast-paced, urbanized society like Singapore feels like too much, there is an entire unseen realm of divine support empowering you.
And the access point for that spiritual vision, the way we actually get that strength, it is the disciplined practice of prayer. To quickly summarize this whole third domain, waiting on the Lord in prayer to renew our strength is exactly how individuals transition into messengers of power. Prayer is the literal mechanism that lets these living letters bridge the gap and, as the text boldly claims, bring heaven right down to earth.
Okay, let's zoom out and synthesize everything we've just covered, bringing it all together, the complete framework. Let's trace this entire journey from start to finish. It kicks off with sharing the gospel by the very way we live, which makes you a messenger of grace. That outward action transforms our lives into offerings to God, which turns us into messengers of joy through deep internal change. And finally, through the vital practice of prayer, we step up as messengers of power, fully equipped to bring heaven to earth. It is just a stunning progression from internal heart transformation to massive external impact. The source material actually wraps up with this incredibly simple, unifying thought. It's a petition that beautifully ties all three of these domains together. It reads, "Lord, fill me with the power of your Spirit to be a faithful messenger of your grace." Notice how effortlessly that synthesizes the entire text. You've got the power, operated by the Spirit, functioning to deliver grace. It's the whole shebang wrapped up into one perfect, focused sentence.
Which leaves us with one final pretty provocative question to chew on. How might these principles actually transform your own understanding of spiritual growth? Take some time to think about this structured path we just walked through. What does it genuinely look like for you to be a living letter demonstrating love, a joyful sacrifice, and a prayerful messenger bringing heaven to earth right here in the diverse, multicultural, everyday life of Singapore? It's an absolutely profound lens for personal development. Keep exploring that thought, and I'll see you next time.